I find myself compelled to make another video on MGTOW. I had made one commentary on the concept of MGTOW and deleted it because the backlash from the MGTOW community is harsh and swift, to say the least. But I made a video recently called "To a Young Man Joining the Manosphere," where I was responding to a text that a young man had sent me, who was very much in the throes of getting excited about joining the Manosphere, and I wanted to try to warn him away from that, as I would warn anybody away from participating in the Manosphere. You can go watch that video if you like. I got a response to that video because in the course of that video I mentioned one branch of thought within the Manosphere, which is MGTOW, and I got a response from a user that I've responded to before named Court of Larry, who said, "You're partially right about MGTOW, partially. Despite the naughty comment I made, the acronym consummately applies, men going their own way. We don't waste our lives worrying about women, and it frees us up to do something else with our lives. We're smeared because women despise men they cannot control nor coerce resources out of, so we're labeled the same mean bads as the woman haters. What can you do? Learn sailing and get a passport, I guess." First of all, Larry, as I've said to many who write in this way with regards to the Manosphere, I've heard all the boilerplate bullshit. You're not going to get me on that. I don't need to hear the base level explanation of I should say the external explanation of what these different ideas are. I've been face to face with these people. I've dealt with these people. I've had my life ruined by these people, and I say that to anyone just joining us. I never wanted to associate with the Manosphere, but found myself in a position a number of years ago where I was being coerced into it. And I know the reality of what's going on here. And you don't need to piss in my eye and tell me that it's raining. I know what MGTOW actually is. Because here's the thing, Larry. Even within that statement you made right there, you expressed that you are the same people as you are in line with what you call the woman haters. Anytime you express a negative opinion applied universally to all members of a demographic, irrespective of their individuality, you are expressing bigotry and prejudice, and in this case, misogyny. And so, in that case, the button you pushed on there was the suggestion that women are somehow coercing men for resources and that sort of thing, et cetera, et cetera. Now, again, you don't have to give me all of the justifications. I've heard it all, and many of them are accurate. Yes, fathers get screwed over in divorce court very frequently, and that's something that needs to be dealt with and addressed. And men very often find themselves involved with women who are gold diggers, who bleed them dry and move off to the next guy. That's something that young men who are growing up need to be made aware of. And one of the things you'll recall that I talked about in the previous videos, that there needs to be moderate, even-handed, middle-of-the-road discussions of these things, so that the extremists on either side of the debate are not able to throw open their doors and get people to join them for lack of any other direction to go. But ultimately, also what you expressed is the rightness of what I said about MGTOW, that it is not simply men just giving up on women and doing whatever they want with their lives. If that were the case, you would just do that without needing to puff out your chest and make a big deal about it. With the possible exception of maybe some familial pressure to produce grandchildren or something like that, the world by and large doesn't really care if you get married or not. It doesn't care if you choose to remain single or not. You're not under any kind, you are not facing down some sort of shotgun wedding, having to, facing some great societal pressure to get involved with women or that sort of thing. The whole idea that this is a necessary, even a necessary concept to explore is a charade on its whole face. Nobody is forcing you to do this. Nobody is forcing you to get involved in relationships. And the next statement that comes down the pipe, of course, is that, well, you're trying to educate young men so that they don't get hurt in their, they don't get hurt by these women, these supposedly foul harpies that are out to bleed them dry and that sort of thing. And the simple reality is that what young men need education on the reality that there are women out there that will take advantage of them, that beautiful women will take advantage of them, that women who are, that there are nice women who will take, seemingly nice women who will take advantage of them, etc., etc. But there is absolutely no way to prevent, to guarantee the prevention of suffering. And, what invariably happens when you move to try to prevent suffering is you lose all of the potential for the good that could come from it. Could come from the same pursuit. In the pursuit of eliminating the bad, you eliminate the good out of the pursuit altogether. And, it's a concept that I think most of us in the Western world, or at least in the United States, confronted in middle school when we read The Giver. The Giver by Lois Lowry tells of a world where everybody is safe. They're safe from suffering. They're safe from harm. They will not. They don't suffer throughout their lives thanks to the machinations of this dystopian world that they live in. But they're also cut off from happiness, and they're cut off from joy, and they're cut off from all of the positives that come from living your life. That if you're going to go out there and experience happiness and joy and all of these things, you cannot experience those things without conversely opening yourself up to the negatives, and vice versa. And so the kind of Faustian bargain that the MGTOW philosophy offers is it's not preventing you from being hurt by women. It's preventing you from being loved by women. It's preventing you from having positive relationships with women. And invariably what happens whenever anyone pipes up about things that are very obvious and simple realities that run contrary to the MGTOW narrative, inevitably they start getting very huffy very quickly. And the consequences become remarkably dire. When I did my previous video on MGTOW, there was a user who wrote in and said, just wait till, and he named another podcaster or something, here's about you. He's going to make you famous. And I looked into it, and for those not grasping what's implied there, this was a MGTOW podcaster, and what the guy was saying what the guy was implying was that the comments I made would be used by this person to insult me and make me apparently reviled on a large scale and that sort of thing. And at the end of the day, there's not a lot lost in being told that vile people don't like you. So anyway, if you were teaching men a healthy, balanced outlook on life, it would be something to the effect of, remember that in all your interpersonal relationships, you deserve an equal balance of respect. Respect is a two-way street. Don't settle for anything less. Be strong enough in who you are to remain single and not give in to any, and not settle for second best just because you think it's all you can get. Don't let yourself be coerced by horrible people who are out there, male and female, and don't settle for anything less than what is best for you, and really think about what is best for you. Don't cut yourself off from any potential experience. Just realize that there are risks involved in the world. And inevitably, I know that the accusation that follows with me saying something like that, is to accuse me of somehow being naive, to accuse me of being somehow a white knight for women or something like that. Certainly not. And honestly, what I can tell you is I've had relationships, and I've had absolutely horrible relationships with women, and I've had absolutely wonderful relationships with women. And there's no safety mechanism for that. You will get burned. You go out there in the world, you will get burned, and that experience hurts, man. And one of the reasons things like MGTOW thrive is because where it's been acceptable for millennia for women to speak at length about their feelings and their heartache and that sort of thing, men are expected to suck it up and go on. And there is truth to this, to that. That's something that reality is something that's bemoaned by both feminists and men's rights activists. The idea that men are expected to not show emotion, not be in touch with their feelings, and not navigate their feelings. And so what happens is, because you have that, and men have that imposed on them by society at large, by the way they're raised, the way they're socialized, things like that, and then also developmental things like girls develop verbally. When we're talking about early age, single-digit ages, girls develop verbal capacity before boys do. So while they're navigating their feelings they learn to navigate their feelings by talking about them, and boys learn to navigate their feelings by lashing out physically and that sort of thing. So there are these barriers in place that we need to overcome. And what happens is now we've entered into a time where it is more acceptable to talk about these things and talk about your feelings. Nevertheless, certain societal prejudices do exist. And what happens is, because the people that want to recruit you for things like MGTOW play on the fact that these societal prejudices exist, throw open their doors and say, here, we're the ones who will respect you and your feelings and your desire to do this, that, and the other with your life, when in reality, what they're really like is more like a transgender glitter family. You know, glitter families are groups of predators on the internet that prey on teenagers and teens and preteens who are grappling with their gender identity and try to pull them into their under their influence and away from their parents and that sort of thing, under the auspices that they understand the person in question, where the person's family does not, and that sort of thing. That's more what the recruitment aspect of MGTOW does. And I hate to name names because it inevitably starts a flame war, and that's not my intention, but I'll give you an example. If you're coming to this from an outside perspective, and you're wondering about the validity of what I'm talking about, one of the most popular MGTOW podcasters on YouTube is a person named The Sandman, and his format is to read news articles and that sort of thing, trying to evidence the idea that women are gaining gaining an unfair advantage of societal leverage, that sort of thing, trying to, castigating and mocking men who disagree with him, who have more reasoned or moderated views about women, derisively attacking any women who come against him, that sort of thing. And then he does things like sell these rings that have the MGTOW symbol on them, which is a road with a branching path on it. These rings that have that symbol on it. Claiming that this will having these rings will allow MGTOW to identify each other, to identify themselves to one another. None of this is conducive to you going your own way. It's conducive to you going that way, going the way in the direction that they want you to go, that they believe you ought to go. But if you try to go your own way, which would be rejecting the necessity of marriage and the necessity for that bullshit, and finding your own path in life, if you go that way, they're going to call you some kind of simp or loser or that kind of thing. And so that is why MGTOW is a fundamentally toxic idea. If you want to go your own way, just go your own way. And if you should find other young men who are facing a similar crossroads, yes, encourage them to think about what's most important to them in their lives, but and to focus on that, and to not settle for anything less, and be willing to remain single until such time, and only until such time, as they find somebody that that it respects them and has a respects them and is not some sort of predatory asshole. But if you have convinced yourself that the predatory behavior embodied by some women is indicative of how all women behave, not only is that bigotry, but it's also just fundamentally out of touch with reality. And that goes back to what I said in the previous video, that if you are talking about forgive me, I was on such a great roll and then I lost my train of thought. In any event, I think I've made the point I need to make. I have other things I want to do. But anyway, so you'll forgive me the brain hiccup. But the point being that there's no reason for this. This is not you going your own way. If you want to go your own way, go your own way. Most people do, even the ones that you think are conformist zombies. So anyway, hopefully I've made my point.